Alright, welcome back. I'm going to try and finish this chapter in this video. It appears to be the ghost of the young boy. Step away this time. God, what now with the ghost sitting right at the foot of the stairs? How was I supposed to get back up to the third floor? We have to go all the way to the first floor again, even though we literally just came from there. To the entranceway. What the hell was that? What had just appeared in front of me? A spooky ghost? That it doesn't automatically start the conversation with. I have to manually go over to it for some reason. From the looks of it, you're another victim dragged here against your will, no? Well, I'll tell you now. There's no escape from this school. There is nothing to be gained here but despair, though if you've got an iron will, you might be able to survive for a little while at least. Here, you should have this. It'll help keep the wandering spirits at bay, though it only works once. A power stone. So take it. Get out there and fight like hell. Stay alive as long as you possibly can. The spirit vanished, but lying on the floor below where it had been was a gemstone. Yeah, it is a power stone. Specifically a violet-colored gemstone, probably an amethyst. So I can use that to keep the wandering spirits at bay one time, huh? I guess he meant the full-body ones, or it would have kept him at bay too. Either way, with this gem, I felt like I could actually get back to my friends safely. I was as hopeful as one could expect, all things considered. Acquired amethyst. That is an upside-down picture of the Power Stone's image. Of course, he also said there was no escape from here, but it was my prerogative, okay, to believe what I wanted to believe and ignore what I wanted to ignore. Is it going to automatically bring me up to the... No, I have to manually go up. That's good. Alrighty. Is it going to be automatic? Of course it's not. Why would it be? Hello. Peace be the ghost of the young boy. Use the amethyst. I held the amethyst in front of me and approached the spirit. And, incredibly, it actually worked, and both the ghost and the gem faded and disappeared. The stairwell was now free to be traversed. Emi's face was absolutely wrecked with tears, and she was shaking her head violently. She wanted to tell me something, but the words just weren't coming. I had a really bad feeling about this. I ran past her to the bathrooms to where Katayama was being lifted onto Yuya's shoulders when I left. Why? Katayama was back on the floor, right where we'd set him down when this whole ordeal began. Why wasn't he on Yuya's shoulders? What was going on? I had an inkling, but I didn't want to believe it, so I pushed it out of my mind. Yuya, I like how not one person has been like, you know, where'd Shimada go? I didn't know what else to say. A person had just died, not some stranger, but a person I knew, a friend. It was the strangest feeling. I kept looking at him and thinking, is he really dead? Is this really what a person looks like when he dies? Seeing him like that drained every last bit of energy I had in me. I fell to my knees, thoroughly defeated. Emi and I couldn't stay near the body. We'd gone down to the second floor where we picked a corner and just stood there trying to recompose ourselves. Yuya elected to stay with Okawa on the third floor, I guess to try and break him from his shock, and help put some distance between him and Katayama. None of this felt real, or maybe I just didn't want it to be real. It was a nightmare, it had to be. I'd just sit up in my bed and it would all be over.
どうしてこんなことになっちゃったんだろう。冷めないね。おかしいな。冷めないの。さっきから夢だと思おうとしてるんだけど。トウコ。
My energy was waning again. I sank to the ground, landing on my knees. Amy followed my lead and put an arm around me for comfort. A friend had just died. He just died. God, why? Amy and I looked at each other. We both heard them, footsteps coming down the hall. It was too dark to make out who it was, but the gate was decidedly male. The two of us slowly and quietly rose to our feet, hid around the corner, and peeked out, both terrified and curious as to whom or what we might see. There at the end of the hall, the figure finally came into view. It was a tallish man, unsteadily teetering as he slowly strode toward us. It was Shimada, drenched from head to toe.
Shimada-kun! Huh?
Amy shot forward, intending to run toward him, but I grabbed her arm and held her back without even thinking about it. She turned and looked at me with a puzzled expression. Yeah, I can't either.
まさか、なんかされたの？うん。よかった。こんな時だし、起こったことだけでも伝えておかないと。
She looked back at me again as she said this, staring right into my eyes in an almost disciplinary manner. It was a perfect guilt stare. I couldn't help but succumb to it, feeling bad for not having filled her in about Shimada's incident. Shimada continued his slow, wet walk down the hall, then all of a sudden, for no discernible reason, he simply fell forward, landing hard on his knees. Something was wrong with him, and while I loathed the man, I didn't want to see him suffer. Emmy and I were both poised to rush to his aid. When other figures randomly began appearing all around him, figures of children, blue and ethereal, shimmering with their own light. We could barely even see Shimada from our vantage point anymore, as his body was obscured almost completely by the backs of these ghost children. He wasn't moving, though, so it didn't seem like they were doing anything to him. But then he wasn't moving. At all. Which seemed highly suspicious. It occurred to me that maybe we should try to save him. I inched forward. He was still in exactly the same position he had been when he fell to his knees. He literally hadn't moved at all. Was he unconscious? Emmy and I looked at another and nodded. It was a silent signal to move forward and do whatever we could to help. The children vanished as we approached, revealing a horrific sight. Shimada's stomach had been flayed wide open. He was dead. Good. The knife he'd been flaunting earlier was jutting from the wound. It was an almost ceremonial death, like that of a samurai who'd thrown himself on his sword. Yuya, who'd presumably rushed down to see what was wrong, calmly walked over to Shimada's body. He was checking for signs of respiration or pulse. He turned back to face us again a moment later, and his facial expression said it all. Shimada really was dead. I was beginning to lose it. I just couldn't take any more of this. My friends and acquaintances were dying one by one. I guess I should say had died, but it didn't seem like it was over, not by a long shot. Hell, it was doing more than trying. It had already succeeded twice over. I was scared, I was paranoid, I was shaking and crying and screaming inside. I was deathly afraid that something else would show up, and then it did. Yeah. There was a little girl in a red dress standing between us and the third floor staircase. I couldn't make out the expression on her face through her bangs, but I could literally feel the hatred in her eyes as she stared into our souls. And then she turned around and slid up the staircase into the third floor hallway. Amy was turned the other way, so she hadn't seen the girl at all. She eventually followed our gazes, but by that time the girl was gone. She looked confused. That particular apparition looked a lot different from the other ghosts I'd seen, but there was still no doubt in my mind. She was definitely a ghost. Yeah, we gotta get into that cold, wet forest.
Mate!
Oh, well, aren't you sweet? Dangerous? Well, that is the direction the girl in the red dress went. I guess Yuya didn't want me to be put in harm's way. Yeah, he's such a good guy. I nodded and watched his back recede into the darkness as he chased after Emmy.
Tohko. 冷静な心にかなう武器はない。今一番大事なことは何?
What was going on? Why was Emmy screaming? I could hear voices now. Emmy and Okawa were having a heated argument. He's dead, boy. Yeah, see? Leave him and run? We'll get caught? That ghost girl must have been pursuing them. What are you gonna do? Kageyama's body was sprawled unceremoniously on the landing, halfway up to the third floor, along with Okawa. At the top of the stairs stood Emmy, and in front of her Yuya with an imposing scowl on his face. I didn't understand any of this. What had just happened? Emmy let out another scream and came running toward me down the stairs. Okawa then seemed as if he'd fallen and broken his arm. He was lopsidedly crawling toward me. It was almost as if he were trying to distance himself from Yuya. I ran to the base of the stairs to meet up with Emmy. I needed some sort of context here.
Emmy! Nani? どうしたの? 逃げろ! 逃げろ! 殺されるぞ! キサミ君がケリをどうしたの? 急に!
I glanced up at Yuya, but his face was shrouded in darkness. I couldn't make out any expression at all. Wait, didn't you say he had a scowl on his face? Isn't that an expression? Okawa seemed to have reached his breaking point. He shot to his feet and took off behind me toward the second floor as fast as he could. Yuya kicked Okawa down the stairs? Why? Slowly, he walked down to the landing. He was neither concerned nor scornful. His face was a blank slate. As soon as he reached my level, he bent down and began fiddling with Katayama's body. Raising the arms, then letting them drop, wiping blood from the ears and nose, and looking at it as if studying a specimen under a microscope. Well, at least he's having fun. What the hell? He was enjoying this? I finally got to see an emotion written clearly on his face, and it was elation? How is this not some crazy dream? Tears began spilling from my eyes like water. I was shocked, confused, and I don't even know what else. Emmy and I found ourselves standing in front of the door to the school infirmary.
鍵島田が抜いてなくしちゃったんだよね。こんなとこ逃げ込んで、もし見つかったら終わりだよ。下に逃げよう。
You could go in and lock it from the inside? Couldn't you? That seems like a pretty good idea. Although, yeah, the key is still gone, so whatever. Poor girl was frantic. I can't say I blamed her, but well, something about this whole situation just didn't feel right to me. Yeah, Yuya seemed fine to me. He was just, you know, laughing at death. It's normal. Yeah.
大川を信じられないよ。じゃあ勝手にすればいいよ。もう。
With that, Emmy pushed me out of the way and ran past me toward the stairwell leading to the first floor.
エミ！知らない！私のこと嘘つきだって言うんでしょ？
And off she went. I was now separated from every one of my friends, but was I really in danger? I mean, I was, but from Yuya? That just doesn't seem right. Or more likely, I didn't want it to be. I wanted to believe this is all a misunderstanding. Yeah, everything. Okay. My legs were shaking and my head was swimming. I just stood there unsure of where I should go or what I should do. And then there he was, right behind me. Looking cool. In his hands was Shimada's huge knife, the one that was last seen jutting from Shimada's stomach. It was still dripping with blood. This definitely made matters more complicated. How could I doubt Yuya's guilt when he was holding something like that? Why did he even have it? How could he possibly bring himself to pull a knife from his friend's lifeless corpse? But I wasn't going to run. I turned around and braced myself. I opened my mouth, intent on discussing this rationally. If I ran away now, I felt like it would be all over. There would be nothing left to save, no one left to trust. But what could I possibly say to him? You alright? My body was still visibly shuddering, and I doubted I'd have very much of a voice if I tried talking. But I just wanted this all to be a horrible mistake so badly. I knew I had to say something. I knew I had to get through to him. Maybe he was just freaking out in his own way. This whole experience had been taxing for all of us, and Yuya's only human. He must have been terrified. Maybe I could help get him through it. Get him to talk about what's bothering him and feel a little better. It was worth a shot at least. What are you, a psychiatrist?
Yuya, 大丈夫?
Kirisaki. 浦部と大川はどこだ?
Yeah, they went downstairs.
どうして?
No answer. He just started muttering to himself and slowly walked right past me as if I weren't even there. That's interesting. Why would he do that?
Yuya! 何するの? 何持ってるのそれ?
使えそうだ。いろいろ。
Oh, that's what Shimada said.
やめて! 捨ててよ!
No, I couldn't let this go on. I grabbed him by the arm and just clung to him, putting my full weight on his body to keep him from going any further down the hallway. He was at a crossroads, about to walk down a path of no return, and I wasn't going to lose the kind, considerate Yuya had fallen for. Unfortunately, the only tools I had at my disposal for stopping him were my feelings, and those just weren't going to be enough. You know, it's weird. Like, he was about to just walk by her. If she didn't try and, like, grab him and pull him back, then maybe he would have just left her alone, which is weird for him, because he usually just kills everyone, so why would he let her go? I was so startled that it took me a moment before I'd even figured out what happened. That was the first time in my entire life that I'd ever been punched in the head, and he put everything he had into it. I couldn't focus. My brain was still rattling inside my skull from the impact. The world was spinning. I looked up at him with spasmodic, twitchy, tear-filled eyes. There was no sign of remorse or compassion whatsoever. He looked like a feudal warrior clutching his sword and staring down at his enemy. The area all around my eye was throbbing. It hurt so badly and it felt so swollen and sore I couldn't even imagine what it must have looked like. And he wasn't done with me. He got in closer and closer, grinning unnaturally as he raised his fist for a second strike. Well, technically, Shimada was the first. You got away from him? He was like on top of you. I was running on pure instinct and adrenaline at this point. I shot to my feet and just forced them to carry me to safety somewhere, anywhere. He was going to kill me. He was really going to kill me. God. Worst party ever. I felt something rattling around uncomfortably inside my mouth, so I spit it out into my hand. It was white. A single white tooth with blood-red highlights at its root. That maniac had actually knocked out one of my teeth. He was there, just behind me. I panicked, tripping over my own feet and stumbling to the ground on the landing between the first and second floor. I'd fallen on my backside, dropping my tooth on the ground next to him. I began slinking away from the encroaching figure of Yuya Kizumi. Save me, somebody. Anyone. God, please. I was scooting backwards across the floor, too stiff, sore, and scared to stand, but then my hand brushed across something small and metallic. A key! Even with my hand right over it, I was shaking so badly I could barely work my fingers to get a grip. It was the most frustrating feeling in the world, and for a few seconds that felt like hours. I just kept trying in vain to pick up that damn key. Finally, I slipped my finger through the ring. I had it. This was my one and only chance. Scrambling to my feet, I somehow slipped past Yuya. I ran back up to the second floor as fast as I could, forced my shaky legs to carry me. I had the key. I could lock myself in. I could hide in the infirmary. Kizumi didn't pursue, not right away. He just stood there, staring at the tooth that I dropped on the ground. Staring intently as if trying to make out what he was seeing.
Haka.
How do you even eat a tooth? I like this song though. There didn't seem to be any way to lock the door from the inside. Oh, okay, well, never mind that kind of Never mind. Yeah. Yeah. I need to find a hiding place before Yuya showed up. The corner of the room, under the bed, maybe? I was scanning every inch of the room as quickly as possible, sizing up my surroundings. My eyes stopped on one of the medicine shelves. Yeah, you used those to stab Satoshi in the wrong end. Felt like such a revelation, like the answer I was looking for, but what was I going to do with scissors? Was I going to fight? Fight who? Yuya? I wouldn't stand a chance. I decided to leave them there. I stepped back and crouched down behind the partitioning screen that was set up in the middle of the room. Flashback time. Uribe had run back to the bathrooms on the third floor to warn Akawa of the imminent threat that was approaching. Unsurprisingly, he was still crouched on the ground, cradling Katayama's lifeless head in his arms. And he was still stubbornly insistent that if he were to leave the spot, he'd have to carry Katayama with him. What a stubborn, foolish man. I'd had enough. I decided to rip Katayama's body from Okawa's arms and kick it down the stairs. It made one hell of a thud when it hit the landing, but he was already dead, so what did it matter? As long as it helped Okawa get moving, I didn't care. See? Look, he's dead, so get your ass off that floor and run. I like this song a lot. Uribe was looking at me, then at Katayama's body, then back at me as if she couldn't make up her mind which is more interesting. But why was she looking at me? Did I have something on my face? Okawa, on the other hand, was focused squarely on Katayama. He was trembling all over, but I thought he finally understood. He then turned toward me. Yelled like a madman, ran down the stairs towards his friend's body. He wasn't exactly in his right mind, however, so those last few steps didn't quite go as planned. He tripped and fell quite hard next to Katayama. I wasn't the one who killed Katayama. Either way, you're dead. Hooray! Yep, that's the end of the chapter. Now we get to see credits, I think. That was weird. It showed a very small clip from the opening. Okay. So yeah, we get some credits, and then there's the next chapter, which has more credits after that. So Tohko goes to the infirmary, and she just stays there. In canon, like, not on the wrong end, you find her body in chapter 5, and she ended up cutting her own tongue out. Kizumi caught Okawa, killed him. You find his body next to Kai and Fukuroi, who Kai is for some reason on the first floor. I don't know why. But yeah, this song, it is a different version of the opening song from the first game, Shangri-La. Slow motion! What's happening? Hold on. Okay, just had to restart the recording. That was weird. 会いたくて会えなくて君はどこなのわからない聞きたくないまだ真実は飛べない鳥たちのレクイエムがまた響くのはシャングリラの心You know, I sure hope my mic was working that whole time because I didn't check before recording. So there we go. That's all the time loop endings, although that chapter wasn't really a time loop. But yeah, like the first 7 chapters are time loop endings, and then chapter 8 is canon with the first game. So like, you know, Satoshi, Naomi, Ayumi, Yuka, and Yoshiki have all gotten out. And yeah, everyone loves that chapter. It's a good chapter. It is a very good chapter. But I still like chapter 5 more. But anyway, until next time, goodbye.